What's up, guys? It's Island Guy 99, and today is going to be a part two to there's a difference between normal and exotical attractiveness. Now, the last video, I really talked about more so of the exotical side, but I wanted to give you guys an example of like people that may be normal and attractive. So, people such as Blair Underwood, Michael B. Jordan, Etris, um, Lucian or Lucius. Those are people that are examples of uh, this. They fit the standard of attractiveness. They're just considered attractive, but they're not. They blend in. So it's the type of attractiveness that blends in, and you know, you kind of see, Blair Underwood, like he looks like a normal guy. He's an attractive guy, but he blends in. So that would be considered normal attractive. People like Jeremy Meeks, Aaron Pierre, maybe Steph Curry, even Naomi Campbell. They can be considered exotical, attractive people. Because, and the reason why I say Naomi Campbell is because, she does have brown eyes, but she has like her eye shape is very unique. Her body structure is very unique. It's not the typical body structure, especially being a dark skinned woman. Being slim is not as common, and I hate to say this because a lot of, darker skinned women they have weight on them. But Naomi, she's like very slim. She's stunning. But like she's very slim, distinct eye features, eye shape, um, jawline. Like when you look at her jawline, she would be considered an exotical. So an exotical could have brown eyes, but their jawline is like is is very proportioned. It's very shaped. So that's like an exotical. So like people like Jeremy Meeks, you could see he has a jawline, you know? I could say probably even myself, like I haven't shown pictures of myself, but you can really say that I'm an exotical because, I have the light eyes, the full lips, I have the jawline. So, you could really say I'm an exotical as well. And I'm also very tall. I'm like 5'11", so I'm above the average height. So like when you put all that together, they're like, oh, he's an exotical. He's not, you know, the normal type of attractiveness. He's, an exotical attractive person. And that's the distinct difference between, normal attractiveness and exotical attractiveness. I wanted to clear that up because, I didn't mention it in my first video, but like, I think a lot of videos like online really mix together um, the normal and the exotical attractive people, men and women. They want to blend it together, but there's there's a slight difference between the two. You know what I'm saying? Like people say like, "Oh, he's just a handsome guy." There's a difference between normal attractive and exotical. And it's almost like comparing like two Lamborghinis of different um, you know, different types of rarity. So that's kind of like comparing people like to put in Michael B. Jordan and Aaron Pierre together, or Jeremy Meeks and Etris together. That's not the same type of attractiveness. There's a distinct difference. You know, there's a huge difference. You know, Etris, he's like the typical attractive guy. A lot of women now they love Etris, but he's the typical attractive guy. They're like, oh, okay, he fits the standard. But like Jeremy Meeks, he's an exotical. He transcends the standard of being very attractive, you know, because exoticals are rare, especially when you consider their eye color. They're rare, okay. And I wanted to really clear that up. I want to clear this up in this video. Um, you know, and I did mention that they're gonna have different experiences in dating. So normal attractive men are gonna have an easier time than exoticals. And it's because of the intimidation factor. Now, people might be intimidated of the normal attractive men, but he's a little bit more approachable than the exotical attractive man. So like people like Blair Underwood, he's attractive, but he's approachable. He's like, oh, he's a normal guy, you know. But when you like try to approach somebody like, let's say, Jeremy Meeks, Aaron Pierre, you know, those are exoticals. You're gonna be like, wow, like, who is he? Like, whoa, like, I can't approach this guy. Like, he's way out of my league. Like, that's the difference. And that difference is going to show in dating, it's going to show in friendships. So, when you're an exotical, you're barely going to have friends. You're barely going to have friends. From personal experience as an exotical, I have no friends. I'm going to be like straight up 100. I have no friends at all because like people are so jealous. Like I've tried to approach people in the past. I've tried to mingle and I've tried, but it was always like, oh, they fell off or somebody left or people left. And it gets very discouraging. So I think normal attractive people, men and women, they're going to have an easier time um, making friends than the exotical. The exotical is like, a lot of people are just going to think like, oh, he's too good. Oh, he's arrogant. Like a lot of people are going to project things onto you more so than the normal attractive guy. It's almost like it's almost like how can I say this? The exotical man's experience is the amplified normal attractive man's experience. Let me say that again. The exotical man's experience with friendships and dating is the amplified version of the normal attractive man's experience. Okay? So, whatever the normal attractive man is facing, the intimidation factor, that's probably amplified twice as much as an exotical or more. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying like they're gonna have two different experiences. And one thing I also want to say is that very attractive men are gonna feel like they're not attractive, and I think this is a common experience with exoticals. They feel like, oh, nobody wants to talk to me um, because I'm like unattractive. And it's not that you're unattractive, it's that you do not fit the standard of being attractive. You're basically outside of the rules in a way. You're basically outside of the standard in a way. You're still playing the game, And here's the thing, you're still playing the game of dating because you know you want to interact, but it's almost like you have a different, it's like a different power. You know, attractive people, normal attractive people, you know, they have the power to let me see, they still have power, but it's like they can't really, I mean, they probably can get away with a lot of stuff, but like maybe maybe not as much as the extremely attractive person. So like whatever the normal person's experience is, it's amplified with the exotics. And that's the reality. So I'm just here to debunk the truth about, you know, handsome and very attractive people, because a lot of people, um I'm just here to debunk all the lies and people saying like, "Oh, you're handsome, you get all the women." People are saying that out of the normal standards of being attractive. They're not, but when you're an exotical, you're kind of outside of that standard. You're like, oh, it's almost like exoticals have to be their own standard. Basically, exoticals can make their own standard. If they want to try and blend in and follow the others, they can. But if they don't want to, they don't have to because they're an exotical. That's basically what it is. Exoticals can make their own rules. Probably more so than the normal attractive people. And I'm not saying this as a means to say that exoticals are better, but exoticals, basically think of exoticals as like the top of the food chain almost. So they can afford to be picky. They can afford to, you know, a lot of people may not approach them and some might, but they can pick whoever they like. Exoticals can choose. Exoticals have international options. People from all over the world would love to date an exotical person, male or female. Exotical people have options in terms of dating. You can date the hood chick, or you can date the corporate chick, or you can date the foreign chick from Romania or Russia. Like you can, as an exotical, you can pick whoever the freak you want. Maybe even attractive people can too, but basically, as an exotical, your options are gonna be amplified. So that's what I mean by saying like the difference between like exoticals and normal attractive people. And people don't want to believe this, but this is a distinction. And it's a reason why, a lot of people get jealous because they don't want to accept the fact that they're just, a certain grade, a certain type of attractiveness, whether they're average, below, or even just normal handsomeness. Like there's a lot of jealousy. And especially as an exotic, handsome men, they can experience a limited pool of friends, but they probably can have more friends than the exotical person. The exotical person, it's almost, I'm saying this as an exotical myself. As an exotical, it's almost impossible to have friends. I mean, you can have, maybe if you can have some here and there, maybe, but it's going to be extremely hard to have friends. Extremely hard. You might have a romantic partner and that could be your friend, but like you're going to have an extremely hard time. you're going to have an extremely hard time making friends as an exotical because you stand out, especially if you've got light eyes and full lips and you're tall and you got like really good genetics and you're muscular or even just being slim. You know, you're not going to have a lot of friends. You're not. Normal attractive people may have maybe some. They're still limited now, but they may have a little bit more than the exotical. Sometimes for exotical people, the amount of friends you have will be non-existent. So that's the reality of normal attractiveness and exotical attractiveness. That's the reality that a lot of people miss and a lot of people aren't knowledgeable about because, you know, most people aren't exotical. Um, so they wouldn't understand. But you have to hear it from an exotical person themselves. But, a lot of people won't believe an exotical because they're going to be like, oh, your life is easy. Why are you complaining? They're going to be like, oh, what are you talking about? This is not true. A lot of people are going to be in denial even when you tell them the truth. It's like being a villain trying to tell, a protagonist the truth, but the protagonist doesn't want to believe it because they love a lot of protagonists are good, but a lot of them, a lot of like good people, good guys are idealistic. They're not always realistic. They want a world that's ideal. Almost like they want a utopia in a way. Like they want to keep the world safe and no crime, and it sounds good, but it's idealistic. And that's what I'm here. I'm basically in a way, I'm basically like a villain. I'm just telling you all the straight facts. I'm like, hey, it's this way, and that way. Hey, exoticals are not gonna have friends. Exoticals are gonna be lonely. Exoticals are gonna have a tough time dating, more so than the normal attractive people. That's the hardcore truth that most won't say. But I'm here to say it, and I'm here to educate people on the difference of being normal handsome and exotical handsome or beautiful if you're a woman. So, and I wanted to make this video for both genders because it applies for both genders. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming on today, and I hope everyone has a great day. It's Island Guy 99.